More phone calls coming up. 877-3DP show. Jamar Chase. He talks about all the great things about living in the city of Cincinnati. It doesn't take him long to run down his list of great things to do in Cincinnati. Is Jim Boeheim. He's the former Syracuse head coach, won a national title in 2003. I was wondering over your basketball career, how many teams do you think changed basketball with their style of play?
What is this? This is like a hard question.
I know.
Start out with. Jeez. I
have,
was going to say, like Jamar Chase would like any city that he's getting paid $50 million, whatever it is. I mean, you could live in
Syracuse.
Yeah, I love Syracuse. God's place on earth.
Okay, but how many teams changed college basketball? Okay.
First, I ask you, can you get rid of some of these things in front of you? What is this? Are you selling these things or what? The bobbleheads?
People's, like I have friends, you're not used to this. I have friends who send me stuff, and so
they send you ugly stuff, and then you put them there. I mean, I'll send you something nice. Jeez.
What would you send me?
I'll send you one of my little bracelets I just got. I'll send you one of these or something. But anyway, changing what? Teams changing what?
Give me the teams like UNLV, Georgetown. Yeah. Did they change basketball with their style of play? Loyola Marymount. Come on, you should know all of this.
Paul Westhead was unique, and he coached that way, and he coached that way in women's and won championships. Championship for the Lakers. He won a championship in the WNBA. People don't know that. It's a little known fact, but all he did was run. And it really didn't work overall, I don't think, but it was unique to him. John Thompson had a style at Georgetown, physical, tough. They haven't been so good since he left there. Louis had a style at St. John's, half court, play defense, and he won more games than anybody there until this new guy's there now. Pitino, I recruited on his honeymoon, but he's got a whole different style. All coaches have a different style. Bobby Knight had a style one. Dean Smith had a more multiple style, more different things. Roy Williams coached like that. But Rick has a certain way of playing, and I thought it would take him a year to two to get to the tournament. He did it as he did in 6 schools, 6 different schools, losing records at 6 schools, NCAA tournament by the second year, and championships and Final Fours. He's probably the best coach of getting the most out of players in the history of basketball. He can take anybody and get them to play. Louisville won national championship with guys that not nobody, but very few guys recruited his players. The guys at St. John's, not a lot of known players. Mm-hmm. And guys that struggle shooting. Doesn't matter. Rick Pitino can coach. He'll be coaching when you and I are retired. You're not retired. I'm retired, but I'm still I don't call doing media stuff working. That's No, you don't call this work.
No, this isn't working.
I'm disappointed about my brackets. I don't think I'm going to win the bracket this year. I just couldn't get a good feel for it. In fact, last night I didn't even realize I had Alabama State. I was almost pulling for St. Francis, and then I woke up and realized I had Alabama State. So
didn't you win it? You won it last year, didn't you? Our bracket challenge?
Overkill. But I picked NC State. I knew they were going to do that. I kind of picked North Carolina. That's why I'm wearing my North Carolina colors here. I picked North Carolina to go a ways in the tournament this year. I think it's a chalk tournament, but I think North Carolina is a lot better teams. And everybody in the country says they shouldn't be in. They look at one metric, 112 in the quad. They didn't look at the fact that they're ahead of the bubble teams and ahead of the last 4 teams in the overall combined metrics. Ken Palm, net, all those. They're at 37. Those other schools are at 40, 41. So North Carolina's 9-2 their last 11 games. Who did they lose to?
Duke.
My pick for the national championship.
Yeah. Oh, you
I
got
think
Duke winning it all.
I got Duke. I got Duke. Their defense, Malawach is one of the best big defensive centers I've seen in a long time. In a long time. He goes back to the like Patrick Ewing type defensive centers. People probably don't remember him. I can't get more. I get something more modern, but um, you know, Con Knippel's tremendous shooting guard. Kid from Tulane transferred in is really good, a physical man. Proctor is really good, and they got the best player in the country. You can argue about whatever. He's the best player. He's the best all-around player that I've seen since Grant Hill. Grant Hill's the only guy that blocked shots, played defense, made shots, rebounded, and passed. And he won a couple of national championships, I think.
It's always
This kid
what
could
could have
be-
been. I look at Grant Hill, what could have been, because
Yeah.
before he had all those injuries and surgeries, and he was
He'd,
special.
he'd have been one of the top 5, 10 players of all time. No doubt about it. They'll never catch Michael, but there's so many great players. You watch the NBA, people knock it, but to watch Steph Curry play is a privilege.
Did
Giannis, Jokic.
Did you
Privilege,
recruit Jordan?
No. He was kind of unknown, but I mean, people kind of knew, but he was you don't go into North Carolina and recruit a kid that North Carolina wants to get.
What about Ewing? Patrick Ewing?
We were one of the 28 schools that visited him in Boston, and you almost knew he was going to Georgetown, but you tried. You tried. It was, he was going to go to Georgetown. It's like Alonzo Mourning. He wanted to visit here, so we brought him in because he wanted to visit because he was friends with Billy Owens. He wanted to come up. So I said, Alonzo, now let's just get this out of the way. Like the first day, I said, let's get this out of the way so we don't have to talk for 2 or 3 days. You're going to go to Georgetown, right? He laughed. He laughed. He said, yeah, I'm probably going to go.
Why did you hate Georgetown so much?
I really didn't hate. It was such an intense rivalry, and the fans hated. They really hated. John and I at first really bumped heads. It was such a big game, and there was so much on it. But after a few years, it took a few years, it kind of mellowed a little. It mellowed, and we became friends, and the rivalry wasn't what it was, but there was nothing like the Big East then. I mean, I love the ACC. It's a great league. It's down more than it's ever been down right now because they don't understand about paying athletes. They understand that in some of these other leagues. They've been doing it a while, but they have to pay. You have to pay athletes. But the old Big East, you played everybody twice, 9 schools to start out, fierce rivalries. Rick was talking about this Pitino. He's in the league. Luke Carnesecca, Jim Calhoun, John Thompson, Rolly Massimino. I think he mentioned me. I'm not sure. I think I was 6th. Jim Boeheim, but Paul Evans was a great coach. Was at Pittsburgh. PJ, who was a great talker, was at Seton Hall and a great coach too. It was a different league, and then Jay came to Villanova. I kid Jay all the time. He never won when we were there, but he won a lot after that. But it was a great league, and we had a fierce rivalry. No lie, nothing, no question about it. 34,000 people came in here to see Big John Thompson, and the game he got thrown out, he was so happy. He was just waving to everybody, and 34,000 people were on their feet. It was a great spectacle, and I enjoyed being part of it. It was just one of a kind. And Rick Pitino's keeping it going. He knows how to coach.
He's Jim Boeheim, Hall of Famer. Well, I tried to explain Rick Pitino. It feels like, when he was at Providence and Billy Donovan is playing and he had guards, they were shooting 3. Like he was ahead of his time with that.
Yeah. Well, he was ahead of his time in terms of practicing. They worked out in the morning. they'd come back for individual instruction during the day, and then they'd practice, and then they would do study table, and then they would shoot foul shots at night.
Wow.
And Saturdays they'd practice morning, afternoon, maybe night. Sunday, you can't do that today. I mean, theoretically,
Not supposed to.
but it was intense. The coaches worked out. He pushed, and he still pushes. He demands everything from his players. His 3-hour practice is as intense as anybody's ever, and he does all phases of the game. And he understands the game. He sees the game better than anybody that I know in terms of coaching 24 hours a day. And he still probably is right on the limits of the hours in practice.
Let's not get him in trouble here.
No, he's following the rules. But I mean,
but do you put him up there with Coach K? Do you put him up there with John Wooden?
Well, John Wooden's by himself. He won 10, 11. Forget that. He's by himself. Coach K is the best coach in modern era basketball. There's no question about it. Underrated is Jim Calhoun. Media people didn't like him, so they don't talk about him. Very underrated coach. Danny Hurley's an up-and-coming guy in that category. But for a guy to take any team, any players, the furthest, it's Rick Pitino. No doubt in my mind.
Where's Phil Jackson in that?
Well, he's an NBA coach. I usually don't really talk about NBA coach. He's, it's him, Red Auerbach, Popovich. Those are the NBA coaches. And everybody says, well, he had great players. Nobody ever won anything without a great player. If you win a championship, in most cases, in the NBA, you have a great player. You had Shaq, you had Kobe, you had Jordan, you had Duncan, name the team that won. They had a great player or two.
Do you worry about Danny Hurley being that intense?
No, his father was like that, and he's still alive.
But he was doing high school basketball. Danny's
he was intense. Bob Hurley was more intense than Danny Hurley. He coached. He was a probation officer. He took 2 weeks of vacation and coached summer camp all day long during summer camp. And at night during the summer, he coached at night every night. So Danny's like his father. He's a little crazier, I think. Well, it's a little bit more. I'm glad he didn't go to the NBA. I don't think it would have worked. But he's a great college coach. When you lose, you go crazy. That's what we do. He's always been like that. He didn't do it the last 2 years because he had a great team. You don't have to go crazy when you have great teams. But when you're losing, you tend to look at everything as an insult to you. And
how many times did you get thrown out of a game?
I only got thrown out of one exhibition game, and it was in Syracuse, and I was yelling at one guy, and the other guy threw me out. So, what the heck?
And it was an exhibition game?
Yeah, exhibition game. It was crazy. But I only got the last 20 years I coached, I got maybe 10, 12 technicals. Maybe. They don't do any good.
How many times do you do it on purpose, though?
Well, most of them.
Yeah.
They don't do any good. And it doesn't help you, the referees. They don't.
Do they hold a grudge?
No, I don't think so. I think most officials, you're on them a little bit. It's human nature. If you're not on them at all, they probably think they're helping you. So you got to be on them a little bit. They go, why isn't Boeheim up? Why isn't he down here? And you can't tell me that guys like John Thompson, Dean Smith, they influence referees. Trust me. Not all, but a lot of them.
Thanks for filling out a bracket, and good luck to Carolina there. My best to the family as always.
As always, thank you.
And
My wife likes you.
And send me send me some stuff. Send me some.
Yeah, I'll send you something better than that.
Send me some gear. I mean, I don't know. Send me
I
something.
don't have gear anymore.
I'll bet
You
you.
want some ESPN gear? I can send you that. You used to.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
That's Jim Boeheim. Of course, his wife loves me. What's not to love? We'll take a break. Last call for phone calls. What we learned. What's in store tomorrow? Right after this.